Susan Hargreaves has been initiating, innovating, activating, leading, speaking, and educating in an effort to prevent animal cruelty for over 40 years. Susan founded Animal Hero Kids as a way to help young people understand the power of their personal lifestyle choices. She's published a book called Animal Hero Kids Voices for the Voiceless, which can be found in Montessori classrooms, and her goal is to get it into every school library in the United States. COVID-19 has shifted Animal Hero Kids' working ability somewhat, but Susan has plans for a COVID-safe Animal Hero Kidtober. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, Susan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I'm thrilled to be here in this capacity, in this new world that we have.
Well, that's it, right? Thankfully, we have the technology. So tell me about the Animal Hero Kids and what is Animal Hero Kidtober about?
Well, Animal Hero Kids is a nonprofit youth empowerment charity, and we do kindness education in schools, reaching about 30,000 students a year in a normal school year. And our videos have reached millions of people about being kind to all species of animals. So we empower youth to know that they have the power to help other species. So it can run the gamut from a girl in Alaska who saw the Animal Hero Kids book in her local library outside of her small town, and she called and to find out how she could help dogs in her area. So it can be many different ways that the kids want to help animals, and Animal Hero Kids is here to inspire, to empower, to educate, and to activate. So we were also pretty strong in stopping the bear hunt here in Florida. They had I call it the American Bear Family Massacre. It was a black bear family massacre, and it was a horrific thing. And a lot of the kids and teens, we organized together and had really heartfelt videos and really made a difference. Spoke with the Fish and Wildlife Commission, which are a bunch of hunters. But anyway, what we ended up doing was stopping the bear hunt, because often people cannot argue with the fact that here is a child who wants an animal not to be harmed, no matter what species of animal that is. So it could be one of the stories in the Animal Hero Kids book was about a girl who was like 13, and in her school they were doing a project for chicks, to raise chicks to chickens to adults. And then can you guess what the end of their project was?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
I want to know. Yeah.
Yes. Well, think of the worst thing, and that was the end of the project, where they then had to slaughter their chicken in their Future Farmers of America classroom. These classes are actually all across America in regular high schools and middle schools. And she did not want to. And that's one of the stories in the Animal Hero Kids book, and how she spoke with education commissioners, she spoke with the principal, she spoke with her own parent, and everyone except the mother was saying, well, that's the way the project is, and there's no choice. This nobody has ever saved their chicken before, and you're not going to. And so the day came when it was time for her to kill her chicken in class along with all the other students. And she put her chicken in the knapsack and went, who was waiting for her in the middle of the day in the school parking lot, and off they went. And she then became a voice for chickens. She became vegan. She wasn't before she met her chicken, who she called Chicklet. And that's just one of the stories in the Animal Hero Kids book. And what's so wonderful is that all of the kids that I meet, they want to help all species of animals. But initially, they may just want to help dogs because those are the animals they meet in their neighborhood. or wildlife, dolphins. And then they find out what's happening to all species of animals, and then they join in to help. And so we have Animal Hero Kids ambassadors that are all equally equal, and they are in Brazil, Vancouver, um, in Toronto, all over the United States, and England, Australia. So we have children and teens speaking up for other animals all around the world. So it's really grown, which is very good. And it's growing now as we speak.
That's wonderful. So COVID-19 hasn't slowed you down too much yet then?
What COVID-19 has done as far as a positive for me here in Florida, believe it or not, one of the worst epic centers of the world, is it has forced me to become proficient or more knowledgeable, let's not say proficient, more knowledgeable in Zoom, how we're speaking today, and all of the different ways to communicate with the world without actually being there. Because normally in a regular school year, I would be going to schools and doing presentations in the schools for all levels: elementary school, middle school, high school, even college sometimes. And that, of course, means visiting the school, doing an assembly. And the average school population could be 750 students. So in one day, I would reach a lot of students. Now, of course, we can't go into schools, and I don't have all my costume characters going into schools with me because I'm not actually going into the schools. But what we are working on is a virtual classroom with a sanctuary in Connecticut, and climate healers. And we're all coming together. JP Farm Animal Sanctuary is the name of the sanctuary. And we're all coming together to create a virtual classroom, a program for schools in Connecticut. And that will be a pilot project that we can now reach other schools with. So it's really exciting. It's forced me to go out of I've been doing this since 1980, and I really am old school. I like a phone call more than an email. I was thrilled when I learned how to use a fax machine many years ago. But now we really have to come forward and adapt and use what we have to get the message out. And ironically, that means that our message might be getting out to even more because we have to, succeed in this virtual world,
Hmm.
which means we reach all over. Yeah.
Well, we do, and thankfully we have it. And yeah, and I've been on a couple of farm sanctuary tours online. I have never actually been in person. I don't have a vehicle, and I've just never kind of arranged it with friends or anything. But when they're online and it's easy, I can just plug in, and it's not quite the same. But for people who don't have access or live in the city or whatever, being able to see the animals actually living. I was thinking about this the other day about how, when you're a kid and you look at a storybook and it has these lovely farm animals and they all look very happy, but actually that's not often the reality. The only time that's the reality is actually these farm sanctuaries. So it does give
Okay.
you that opportunity to plug directly into that.
Right. Exactly. And JP Farm Sanctuary, they part of their mission is to educate. So they reached out to me, and I'm thrilled that we get to do this all together. So the kids can see the rescued farm animals, and they can hear some of the stories of other kids that are just like them who have rescued animals, and they can learn how to be an animal hero kid. So it's very positive. We're doing very positive work,
That's
and
wonderful.
it's vital. Yes, now more than ever, it's vital to foster empathy, to have people consider other situations, like, for instance, our current situation here in America with the Black Lives Matter. If you have empathy and understanding and you can put yourself in someone else's situation, Well, it solves a lot of society's ills, a lot of apathy or hatred or bias. So we really encourage critical thinking also in the programs, where kids, it's very interactive. The programs where they may learn what the term whistleblower means, for instance, in one of the stories, and so they have to deduce, they have to find out what would happen if this happened, or how would you feel if you were, and so like situations where it really does make them think, oh, what if that was me? Wow, I wouldn't like that. So it really is vital in these times, even now, more than ever, to encourage youth to be kind, and that's what Animal Hero Kids does. And I've been doing this since 1980, starting in Canada, in Toronto, with Mobilization for Animals a long time ago. Nobody will remember them. And that I was the education outreach there in 1980. And still today, I find that it's much more acceptable to even speak about going vegan, or the fact that there are vegans. You can imagine what it was like in 1980. But still, with bullying prevention and different character education benchmarks that schools need to reach, then we have an open door. Really, they really appreciate the programs because they're free, interactive, appropriate, and they enrich the student's life. So,
Well, and they take
so
some of the teaching burden off of teachers. I think now, especially that teachers are looking for content, right, to fill in. Students, I've worked in the schools as well a bit, and I know that variety is really important for students because their attention span, oh, it's much more interesting if there's a lot of diversity. So I can imagine that you have that works to your advantage. Although I do wonder, because in my experience, schools are pretty meat heavy. Like there's a whole milk program that goes on in schools, and a lot of the food that they serve has meat. And what kind of attitude do you get from teachers and others?
well, when I graduated from college, early childhood education at Centennial College in Toronto, I actually received all kinds of, this was in 1982, all kinds of free educational materials from the Meat and Milk Marketing Board.
Nice.
So, yeah. And they gave me floor puzzles, big, colorful, expensive floor puzzles to use with the children, showing how good dairy is for you. And so there is a lot of funding that goes towards indoctrinating school students into this lifelong deadly habit of consuming the products from animals. And so, yes, you may imagine that I have a battle to go in, but in fact, that battle has really um, changed with the times. So, at one point, like 20 years ago, I was blacklisted from a middle school in Florida for using the word vegetarian, and the principal had said we don't discuss alternative lifestyles in his so that was 20 years ago. Now today, the I have to get used to the fact that the teachers are saying, well, I thought you would have discussed factory farming more. I thought you would have discussed the links, the environmental link to the climate change, to vegan and the food choices. So they're actually asking for it more. And now when I do a program and I'll say, like, one of the costume characters for the elementary school is Ronnie V. Cow, and I'll say, what do you think V stands for? So in Palm Beach, one of the fourth graders said vodka, but they generally do get around to the word vegan. And when that word comes up, Ronnie Vegan Cow, there's always a student or a teacher that they point to and say, "Oh, they're vegan. They're vegan." So it is way more. We have really risen in the ranks of population, the fact that there are way more vegans than before, and people actually know what it means, and it's so easy with all the wonderful products. And that's another thing I do in the schools is we'll have vegan fair activities. So the kids will learn about being kind to all species, how they can be heroes to animals, and then we'll do a Tofurkey is very nice, and they have donated some food, and so has Beyond Burgers. So we will do a vegan cooking activity, or just even a preparation, because we don't always have a kitchen. So the kids may just make their own hero sub, with Tofurkey and Daya cheddar cheese slices, and potato chips, which is way more fun. So yes, when you're saying that it did used to be really way more difficult to discuss going vegan in schools, but it's a matter of how you do it, how you approach it in a fun way and not a preachy way or a scolding way or a shocking way for it to be age appropriate. We don't want to terrify the children, and not a judgmental way either. So they appreciate it. So from educator to educator, they appreciate how I can handle um, in a, things in a positive light, and foster the child's self-esteem with the stories of how they can be heroes, because you are powerful. You look at these children and what they have done. You can do the same thing. They're your age. They're 8 years old. So I don't actually say, hey, they're your age, but when they hear the stories from the Animal Hero Kids book and realize, hey, that boy is 8 years old, that girl is 9 years old, then they just say to themselves, wow, I can do that.
Right, right. And I think it's natural. I think we're born with that natural sense of kindness and compassion, and that it's actually trained out of us. So really you're helping people hang on to what's really innate in us, I feel like, so that we don't get deprogrammed. Yeah, as we go through life. And I'm wondering, so you mentioned you have characters that go with you. So people like these are your animal kid ambassadors, I guess, kid hero ambassadors that come with you.
Well, who comes with me for elementary schools is Ronnie V. Cow, who's about depending on who's in the costume, the head is really big, beautiful costume characters. So the head is like really big. So that means Ronnie V. Cow ends up being like 7 feet maybe tall.
And how do you
And
decide who's in the costume? How does that work?
sometimes I might be really lucky and have a volunteer come with me, but generally I'm not. It's hard to get volunteers. So, and to rely on volunteers who have their own lives. So a lot of times, either the teacher at some of the teachers at the school, or the gym teacher is usually game, and or even sometimes the maintenance man will help out, and sometimes for the older grades, let's say grade 5, they're taller. A lot of these kids in 5th grade are taller than I am, and so the teachers will pre-choose them as a treat to help with the program, and then they'll get dressed behind. They don't have to. It's just their regular clothes, and then they just put on things over top. And so I actually have 4 costume characters: Kitty T-Cat to cover companion animals, how to be a hero to companion animals, spaying and neutering, care, and Ronnie V. Cow and Rocky Raccoon for wildlife, and we cover wildlife, captive wildlife, and some wildlife rescue stories, and how to have a safe yard for wildlife, or what to do if you see an injured wild animal, and that kind of thing. And then we also sometimes cover circuses and aquariums in that. And then also Horace B. Horse, who is a giant horse that is, we can discuss rodeos, we can discuss what horses like, what horses don't like, and how to approach a horse, like basic things like that. So it's very interactive. So the the characters ask me, whisper questions to me that I then ask the children. So that really keeps their attention, and it's coming from them. And then if, let's say, you've got 250 kindergarten to first graders in the cafeteria, and I'm on the stage, and they start to go crazy because there's these big beautiful costume characters, then I they cover their eyes with their hands or their paws, and then I say, oh, you're scaring them. Oh, it's getting too loud. What was it you wanted me to ask them? Oh yes, on the way over here. So I bring it all into that. So
So
it's very interactive. Yeah.
that's awesome. So Ronnie V. Cow is a girl cow, a female cow?
And actually, that's a good question. If there's a female in the costume, then the name will change. So it might be Rosie or Ronnie, but generally they're Ronnie.
So do you talk about,
Yeah,
well,
those have more.
cool. That sounds awesome. Do you talk about dairy? What dairy is? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's it's easier for the younger to go at it from a vegan, what does vegan mean? And then they ask me questions. And then especially if there's food or tofuti cuties, tofuti, have you heard of tofuti? You have that
Yes.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so foodie better than cream cheese. They may donate some product coupons, and so I'd like to do it in a way where it's pertinent to the program, where they will be asking questions, and I'll say, well, this is tofuti cuties, which is not made, and why do you like that? You know, and so it's interactive. It's a discussion. They're saying, well, why are you vegan? And I might even say, I've been vegan since 1985. And they're like, wow, 1985,
What's that?
you're old, you're really old. How old are you?
150 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, and I remember 1985, and I became vegan around 1989, and you're right, like or vegetarian, actually vegetarian. It took me 10 years to get to vegan, and it's so much nicer now to be able to speak the word, and even if you get the eyes glaze over and people turn off, at least they understand what the word means, which they
yes, I went vegetarian in 1980, and then vegan in 1985 when I realized the fact that it's not okay to abuse animals. And I was kind of putting it to the back of my mind and not really thinking about it, because I think that's a good thing to remember for us all, that we may not have realized that we were drinking the milk from a mother cow because she had a baby, and the baby now is taken away. If everybody, of course, knew that, we would have a lot more vegans. So it's a matter of educating, and it's simple as that. It's educating, and people that have that care about animals. And the average person, as they're walking around, you ask them if they see an animal being harmed in front of them, are you going to rescue them? What are you going to do? They do not. They are going to stop that animal from being harmed. So then they have to realize the link between what they buy and who they harm.
Right.
And that's the way to do it, really, is to say, oh, here, try this wonderful food. And you know why we're not using any dairy? Because this is what happens.
Right.
And then you can tell your own story too. So it's not like you're being judgmental. You're saying, I didn't know.
Right. Right, that's true, and I imagine it's easier for kids. Like I would have loved to have had something like that when I was a kid. Although, then as a kid, you got to go home and confront your parents who may have a whole different idea that these animals are put here for this purpose and this is just what we do. It's what we've always done, that sort of thing. So really, when you talk about empowering kids, you're really talking about speaking truth to the power that is in their immediate vicinity. Do you have some kind of follow-up to help them with all through all that?
Well, often I do get the comment from the kids in the class that I want to be vegetarian, but my mom won't let me. My mother won't let me. And then, of course, what do you say to someone who's 11 or 12 years old? Well, tell your mom she's wrong. No, how not to get back invited back
Right.
to the school. No, but what I can say is when I was 11 or 12, I too wanted to be vegetarian. And my mom wouldn't let me. I had to wait. And now I've really made up for it. Now here I am talking to you about being vegetarian. So I was at a place, I was just like you.
So now you're not going to be able to go into the schools probably in quite the same way, maybe outside situations or that sort of thing. But so what is Animal Hero Kidtober? Is this an annual event?
Animal Hero Kidtober is in October. Could you tell that by the name?
It took me a
Animal Hero.
minute, but yeah, I figured it out. Yeah.
So it's World Animal Hero Kids Month. So around the world, children, teens, and adults will be participating in activities, virtual activities, or socially distanced activities where they are helping other species of animals. It could be something as simple as you going to your local farmed animal sanctuary and take the Animal Hero Kids book and read a story of the rescued pig, Stella, how Stella got her groove back, to a rescued pig at the sanctuary. So, and then film it. And so that you would then be a participant for Animal Hero Kids Month. And then that sanctuary, and you would be on our little map of the world where it would say, well, here in British Columbia, this is happening on this day. And another thing is to find local restaurants, whether they be vegan or not, and ask them if they would feature an Animal Hero Kidtober meal for Animal Hero Kids. So they would feature a vegan meal to celebrate kids who are kind to all animals. And that would be on their menu, Animal Hero Kidtober. And then we then would get the name of the restaurant, and then we would add them to our list of if you're in British Columbia, Animal Hero Kidtober special meal is at this place and that place and that place. If you want to go, or take out, depending on where we are, could be takeout. And so there are so many different activities that you can do where you're not actually, going in. One of the things that I wanted to do also, which I think we could still do, is have one or two socially distanced kind teens or kids to go into a shelter and read a story to one of the dogs or the cats who need a home. And then we would again include them. And then the news release will be going out where we'll say so many activities are happening across the world for World Animal Hero Kids Month. And in your area, we would send out a local news release to say if you want to speak to the person that's participating in your immediate area, and the media like that because they get to say, oh, nationally or worldwide, this is happening. And here locally, we have. And if anybody knows an Animal Hero kid or teen who has not been recognized yet for helping animals, let's say you're a sanctuary or a shelter or a vegan organization and you have young volunteers who are dedicated and eloquent, then contact us and fill in the nomination form on the website, and we could perhaps recognize them during Animal Hero Kidtober. And normally that means surprising them somehow. So surprising them with an award. So they could be at doing something, and then surprise, in comes the Animal Hero Kids Awards. And then we would film that, put out a news release for that. So the goal is to have over 200 activities around the world during the month of October. So that's the goal. And so far we're doing pretty well. But join. We would really like anyone listening, if you would like to participate, go to animalherokids.org and reach out to me in the contact us. And there's actually a little form on the website that you can fill in where it's asking you what you would be interested in doing for Animal Hero Kidtober. So then you would join us.
So that you're looking to include kids that have already witnessed your presentation, already understand what the organization is about, or also anybody who's just happens to be doing nice things for kids, is to bring them under the umbrella. Is that right?
Right, exactly. So you don't have to be a vegan to join Animal Hero Kids. You could be a 7-year-old boy who saw a dog being harmed and you rescued that dog. And then come on into Animal Hero Kids and meet all the other kids that are like you, helping other species of animals. Find out what they're doing. And then join us in our activities. We have compilation videos where the kids are speaking out. We have a great one, Animal Hero Kids Answer to COVIDs, that is on our website. And We Animal Hero Kids, which really outlines what we do. So we would just, we invite all of the kids and teens who want to help animals into Animal Hero Kids, where you can learn how you can be effective. Sometimes they might be the only voice in their school, and they may feel alone. They might be the only voice in their house. And yet here they are, they'll see others that feel the same way, so they're not alone. Because I certainly did feel alone when I was a child. I felt really like I was the only one that cared about other animals. I was saying to my mom when I was eating liver that the veins were snapping in my mouth when I was like 11, but and that I couldn't eat it. But also I was taken into a chicken hatchery at 9 years old, and I saw all the baby chicks being gassed and suffocated. And this was the world where I was the only one that felt that way. I felt, you know. So I wish that there was an Animal Hero Kids when I was younger. But now there is an Animal Hero Kids, and there's no cost to join, and all of our programs are free. It's all volunteer. So no school ever has to pay for our resources. And the book that we would be donating to school libraries, free, So if there's a teacher listening that would like a copy of the Animal Hero Kids book going to their school, then all they would have to do is reach out to us. And it won a Skipping Stones Honor Award from a youth diversity magazine for notable contribution in ecology and nature.
It's a much bigger book than I had envisioned. It's like in a little encyclopedia.
It's almost 300 pages, actually.
Wow.
And it's full color, and it really has all types of children and teens who are helping other species of animals. And it's very practical too.
Different activities, it looks like, and ideas, and
Yep, it's all service learning projects, awesome facts about other animals, and practical ways to help other animals, how to create a club in your school, how to talk to your local government, how to contact your local government, how to organize a protest, how to lobby. And there's one of the Animal Hero kids, Thomas. He actually he was 9 and he saw a shark, a baby shark, fighting for breath on a dock in Florida. And he, when he saw this baby shark that this fisherman had brought on the dock, he begged for that man to put that baby shark back. And it took him 20 minutes of talking to him, and the shark was still fine, and the man finally put the shark back.
Wow.
He created his own lobbying organization at 12 years old to lobby for legislation. So there are many wonderful examples. There was a girl in Los Angeles who couldn't find good vegan muffins and cakes. This was in 2013. So she then decided to create her own vegan cake company, Clara Cakes. So it really is incredible, the inspiring stories of kids and teens that are helping other species. And they're like, okay, so you could do that. Anyone could create their own cake company if they wanted to. Mm-hmm.
Or things like planting bee-friendly garden. Even if you live in an apartment, you could put something on your balcony that's friendly for birds and bees, right?
Yeah.
And is there an upper limit for the definition of kids? Like,
Well, that's a good question. So we have Animal Hero Kids and we have Animal Hero Teens.
okay.
So if you go to the animalherokids.org website and you go on the About Us, Animal Hero Kids crew, then you'll see some teens there also. And I'm seriously considering changing the name to get kids out of it, actually. So the teens feel more welcome. You know? So,
well, kids are very powerful. I mean, when they come at you, you know, I'm imagining that fisher on the near the water with the shark, and if a little kid's talking to you for 20 minutes and just won't give up, I mean, that's how do you resist a kid like that? And I think in the media loves stories like that, right? So great way to get the message out. You know, the big thing that we all have to think about now is, as you and I both know, and all vegans know, is that the COVID situation is derived from humans exploiting animals and their environment, and that many other diseases have also been the result of this. But for some reason, you know, there's endless coverage, it seems, about COVID and numbers and what we should be doing, but very little discussion about the source of the disease and how, you know, we got to work our way out of this pandemic, but we also have to prevent the next one. Are you working that message into your fall program? And how do we talk to kids about the connection between COVID and the things we do to animals?
well, in the video we did, Animal Hero Kids Answer to COVIDs, we outline in a very fun way, a very easy to comprehend way, that where this particular pandemic came from. It came from the eating of wildlife and other animals, a seafood market, in a wet market in Wuhan, China. Now, if we look at any pandemic or any of these superbugs, whether it be COVIDs, MERS, SARS, mad cow disease, swine flu, bird flu, we know that they're all coming, and mad cow disease, they're all coming from being overcrowded, traumatized, sick, stressed, terrified, unhealthy, diseased animals that are so diseased in our wet markets. People make the mistake sometimes thinking that, oh, that's only in China, that they have these unhealthy wet markets. But in fact, every slaughterhouse is a wet market. And that's where the diseases are coming from. And then what happens? People eat the bodies of those animals who have suffered so. And then these superviruses come, and these superviruses can adapt and change, like the COVIDs, to be major, well, we've seen it, haven't we? I think this has been the worst that we have ever seen as far as the world being affected by a pandemic like this before. And yes, you're correct. People are not talking about it enough. The media are not talking about it enough that to prevent it. It's like a great big secret, something they're hiding. Here in the United States, it was the last time I checked, it was over 1,600 slaughterhouse workers across the United States that have COVID, and they're being forced to go to work because they say that slaughterhouses being left open and keep on working to kill the animals is necessary, as if we are in a war. So there's been a decree, a national decree, to keep those slaughterhouses open. And that national decree does more than one thing. It prevents any individual from suing the slaughterhouse owner if they get COVIDs and they can trace it back to the meat from that slaughterhouse. It prevents the workers from suing the slaughterhouse owner if they get sick because they are in that environment. Because all they have to do is say, well, I didn't have any choice. We had to stay open. It was a decree. So it's horrific, really, what is still going on. Even though you and I, we've been vegan for so long, it's still happening, this major, horrific industrial machine that is killing animals, and so many bullies and abusers behind closed doors. And the only way we're going to stop it is to get the message out that if we were vegan, we would not be in this situation. You want to go back to work? You want to have a healthier, better life? Then look at the diseased bodies of the animals that you're eating. And that relates to that. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be going into the schools and doing the virtual programs saying that straight out in that case. But what we do have is we have videos where the kids are explaining how this came to be, and Mother Nature. Because Mother Nature is one of the storytelling characters that Animal Hero Kids has. So Mother Nature explains it in a way that people can comprehend easily. But there is a definite, I feel there is a definite purposely hidden aspect to this that is not being discussed. And I actually called in to a radio show on public radio, so National Public Radio. And I said in my question and statement, because it was about wearing masks, I said, how about preventing from having to wear masks by, and I listed off all the different pandemics. 3 out of 4 emerging superviruses come from eating animals. And do you know what they said about what their reply was? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was like I hadn't even called. So the most I got in was the question, and then they didn't even address it.
Wow.
It made people uncomfortable. What? I want a vaccine.
Right.
We want to. I don't want to have to change what I do. Just give me a vaccine.
I love my meat. I've heard that a few times. I've come to the conclusion that it's an addiction, that what we're dealing with is an addicted person. And that's where I was. And as an adult, I was addicted to dairy. We know that there's a protein in dairy that travels the same pathways in the brain as heroin, right? We know that scientifically it's actually physically addictive. You were looking for celebrity endorsement for the vegan lifestyle, and why do you feel that's important, and who is vegan that maybe could be more outspoken, or how can we encourage them to do that?
The some people would say it's a double-edged sword for celebrity, and if it's positive, you need positive role models, and so you have to be careful. And yet, at the same time, the the fact that Billie Eilish told her Instagram followers that they should be vegan is huge. It's huge. It's absolutely reaching millions and millions of 12-year-old girls or 13-year-old girls. Not that you have to be a 12 or 13-year-old girl to listen to Billie Eilish, because I did go to the concert. But the fact is that their influence is really huge. They have a huge voice. I'm not saying that a child doesn't have their voice. Everybody has their voice to use. But here we're Animal Hero Kids. We're a small nonprofit, not a big budget. How are we going to get our message out to billions of people? We have to be smart, and there are many ways to do it. So we go at it from all around. And one of those ways is to ask a celebrity if we can name an award after them. So we have the Paul McCartney Young Veg Advocate Award. And Paul McCartney has given us wonderful quotes about helping all animals in need. Animal Hero Kids rock. And that helps us get our message out. Depending, on who you're talking to. John Sally was so kind, the basketball champion, the NBA basketball champion, to give one of the Paul McCartney Young Veg Advocate Awards to a 13-year-old Haley Thomas, who has actually had her own organization teaching vegan cooking in schools. So the fact is that having celebrities join us does really help us get the point across, because it's not just me, and it's not just you, and it's a whole from many different angles. It's a whole voice united. It's many voices united.
Right.
And so, yes.
I think when Beyonce announced she was vegan as well, that they just have such a huge audience, right? That it sort of normalizes the word and the lifestyle, I think, in some way for people.
If I go into a foster group home and it's teenagers, and we're teaching vegan cooking and how to shop for vegan food, it's not going to be just me going in there. It'll be Corinne Sutton, a professional vegan bodybuilder that is really fit and got big muscles. So that helps me. He's so he's not a celebrity, like Jay-Z, but it helps me when I go in too. So it's great.
Well, and we do it all, of course, for the animals and for the earth and for all of our health. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Susan. It's really wonderful. What a wonderful life's work that you have enjoyed.
Well, the more help I can get for getting the message out, that it doesn't matter how old you are, you can help animals in need, and You can help all species of animals by considering who you're financially congratulating when you go to the grocery store and what you're supporting. And so being kind to all really is so important. And so everybody can help with that. So if you want to join us, go to animalherokids.org. We're always looking for volunteers and of all ages to help us.
Okay, thank you again, Susan.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you today. Stay safe and healthy.